Hello everybody, Briefcase here, bringing you another game from the Ancient Trials tournament going on over in Vancouver for a top prize of, I believe, $350. This time, we have McRoberts High in the Radiant against none other than Game of Throws. Interested to see exactly if they will go with their namesake and throw this game incredibly hard. Nonetheless, we will see how this pans out. And let's get into who is being banned and who's being picked up. McRoberts High actually banning out Elder Titan, no longer as strong as he once was. Still a very strong hero, however, with that aura of his. Natural Order, that's what it's called. Got it indeed. So, still a very strong hero, of course, makes early team fights, kind of the pre-level 11 range, the pre-20 minute range, very strong for your team, seeing as how most opponents don't have too much plus armor. They pretty much guaranteed to not have too much plus magic resistance. So Elder Titan can really help your team dole out as much damage as humanly possible, as quickly as possible. However, it does indeed look like Game of Throws knows what's happening up in 6.79. They have banned out Lich as their first ban, understandably, considering that they do not get the first pick, and Lich is absolutely amazing since the patch. Of course, Sacrifice so obscenely strong in this patch, not to mention that Chain Frost just keeps getting buffed all day long. And Lich can be very competent in an off lane, he's great in a tri lane, and not only that, he can help your mid basically clinch a victory by just sacrificing one of the mid creeps at the very beginning, and even that small amount of extra EXP can be incredibly helpful for your mid, not to mention denying the opposition that experience as well. Now we have McRoberts High has picked up a Darkseer, of course, a very strong hero throughout the entire game, one of the strongest in fact, was recently nerfed in this last patch nonetheless, but is not doing too badly as far as just overall power, and it looks now indeed like Game of Throws picks up the Jakiro in complete response to the Darkseer. Of course, Jakiro does work nicely with Gyrocopter, some good zoning abilities, not to mention Ice Path, but really when you combine Jakiro with Darkseer, it is absolute devastation going up against that, and it is so strong, and it's only a 2-hero combo. It's almost a wombo combo in that way. So very scary. Nonetheless, no Jakiro up for McRoberts High this time. They just do not have that option anymore.
Reserve time.
Now, has picked up a Visage, however, of course, one of the strongest supports in the whole game, was recently nerfed, was much stronger in 6.78C, I think it was. Nonetheless, has been nerfed, does not have as much armor, I think, doesn't have as much magic resistance for sure. Still a very strong nuker overall, though. Does throw out a lot of damage early, but does not have as much staying power as he once did. Now McRoberts High has banned out Weaver, not wanting to deal with that very slippery hero, very difficult to actually kill, especially when you don't have a guaranteed stun or disable out yet, with only 2 of them so far. Of course, still many places to go for both teams. You do have Game of Throws doing very nicely in the AOE department, McRoberts High doing none too bad itself, but Visage's Soul Assumption is so strong and such a strong single target spell that, I mean, they might just be going that route, and so far, they are fairly scary in and of themselves. Of course, Darkseer can go in the off lane, but now off lane and short lane and safe lane almost meaningless, seeing as how having dual lanes now feels right, and it's really possible. It's much safer now for both the off lane and for the... It's just much safer now for the off lane, guaranteeing that you probably won't die. If you have if you have a good block, it's going to be right underneath your tower, and really, you should be very safe in this game. Now a Magnus has been picked up by Game of Throws. They have already banned out Puck, who is a very scary mid to go up against as Magnus. Of course, as soon as you do get silenced, you need to be far more cautious when you're in there. And of course, Magnus, if he is going to be going mid, which of course he might not be recently, because Bottle Crowing has been constantly and steadily being nerfed, and he is one of those mid heroes that really does rely on that Bottle Crow. So he might not be going mid. Interesting to see exactly how they will play this, how they will lane it out. Of course, Gyrocopter would love to see a support gyro. Saw a sniper support in the last game, and that definitely threw me for a loop. Nonetheless, worked very nicely for them. McRoberts High now has picked up a Luna as their carry. And overall, a very strong hero, of course, was recently buffed in the last patch. Only has an Ags now upgrade for Eclipse, which, let's be honest, we're never gonna see. But now Moonglaves is just that much stronger. Usually don't want to level it out, but now, if you are Luna and you do get caught out by 2 heroes, kind of pre-20-minute mark, you actually have a chance of taking maybe even both of them down, rather than just one with Eclipse and Lucent Beam. So, a nice pickup so far. Still more AoE for them as well, but still, it's very odd AoE at that. Magnus, though, along with Jakiro, could be absolutely terrifying. Let's not forget that Gyrocopter has Call Down and Flat Cannon. So far, the AoE coming out of Game of Thrones is just absolutely massive, and I would give a small tilt to them as far as team fights go when it comes right down to it. But now, both teams not sure exactly who to pick up, it seems. There are still quite a few heroes in the pool, and both teams having really to fill another role when it comes right down to it. Mag can be mid, but may not be. Gyrocopter is usually the carry through, and Jakiro as the support. So might want another support, might want a better mid, and might just want some better lane partners when it comes right down to it. Before McRoberts High now, they have Luna, they have Visage. That's the beginnings of a scary try. Maybe not that scary, though, with Luna not having a guaranteed stun. Of course, Lucent Beam stun, let's be honest, that doesn't really count that much. Darkseer can jungle if need be, can offlane solo if he wants to, and still be quite fine. And now, it looks like Game of Thrones has picked up a Queen of Pain, which makes me think Magnus is not going mid anymore. McRoberts High still very much needs a mid of their own. And good thing there's a 2-minute delay on this stream. I'm still might not say it, because they could wait this one out until it's the absolute last minute. But nonetheless, they're not going to pick the hero I'm thinking of. And I hope they're not stream looking, but you should pick Venomancer. Oh my god, the recent buffs to Poison Sting are absolutely amazing at keeping Queen of Pain so utterly low. But no, completely counter-picking Queen of Pain way more than Venomancer, a million times better. Should have picked OD, is what I should have said. Picks OD, Queen of Pain now. Do you really want to run her mid? She's going to fail very, very hard to OD. Just get absolutely destroyed. She will have absolutely no chance of last hitting. She might even fall. She won't even have enough mana to really throw down most of her spells. And OD now, I think, a very nice pickup by McRoberts High. Magnus, if you go against an OD, you almost don't have enough mana around the entire time to throw out shockwaves. So Magnus a little bit better against OD for sure. But now, interested to see if they'll just keep switching up mids and just decide where they're gonna go. Maybe keep things a little bit more fresh. McRoberts High now has a ban out, and there are a few heroes you really do want to ban out against an OD if that's how you want to roll, because he can be counterpicked so obscenely easily. Viper, of course, absolutely destroys him. I shouldn't say absolutely destroys him. Viper, very, very good against him, but Razor, amazing against Outworld Devourer. He's actually an innately very squishy hero, OD. He doesn't have that much armor, he doesn't have that much health even, and having Unstable Current constantly shocking him whenever he Astral Imprisons you, it can be really devastating. It can really put a lot of pressure on him throughout the whole game. But nonetheless, interesting to see who exactly McRoberts High will ban out. They do have OD's ult now for a little bit more team fight, of course, but just the obscene amount of AoE coming out of Game of Thrones. They will really want to push this into the mid game, get some nice team fights under their belt, and kind of command this victory through 5-manning. And understandably, of course, Magnus ult with Queen of Pain ult and Jakiro, not to mention Gyrocopter, they have so much AoE that it's going to be very difficult for McRoberts High to live through most of this, especially someone like Luna or OD. You're going to want to get those BKBs up as soon as possible, but of course that will only save you from Queen of Pain's ult. Magnus ult will still hit you, no damage, but still plenty of stun. Now they have banned out Warlock, seeing that the ults are just gonna be flying, and Warlock being an incredibly strong hero for just that purpose as well. Of course, no more longer does he do any damage with his ult. It's no longer 100 damage, but they have picked up a Death Prophet now as well. Not sure how Death Prophet actually fares against OD. I would assume it wouldn't work particularly well, simply on the virtue that she is an intelligence hero. Nonetheless, still interesting pickup. Usually see Death Prophet run as a mid, but with Queen of Pain in your lineup, you usually really do want to send her there. She just has too strong of rune control to really let up in a different lane. Not to mention that she doesn't carry particularly well. She does okay. Gyrocopter, more likely than not, will be the true carry, with Jakiro just backing him up the whole time. Death Prophet could be run as a carry here as well, seeing as how if you can protect her, that exorcism can still do all the damage in the world. Now, however, McRoberts High picks up a Nyx Assassin of all people. They are really going anti-magic here with that mana burn, of course, not to mention his ability to just pop out and bulk load a bunch of damage, but sadly enough for him, pretty much everybody on Game of Throws team is fairly bulky throughout the whole game. Magnus is a strength hero. Jakiro has an obscene amount of strength gain for an intelligence hero. And Gyrocopter, the only one who might kind of falter, but usually first item is a BKB, giving him at least a 1000 HP once Nyx gets his ult. So might be a little bit, might not work out too well, all things considering. McRoberts High doesn't have the best ganking lineup by any means, and when it comes right down to it, they only really have a Nyx ult, or I should say, even Impale now isn't a guaranteed stun. It used to be, but no longer, so not having too many guaranteed stuns in this lineup. But now, let's get into who is playing who at the moment. We have Cake.mkv is playing as the Jakiro, Leohart playing as the Death Prophet, Lousy Automaton as the Magnus, Sir Fukalat, oh ho, you clever gentleman you, as the Queen of Pain. Looks like he might be going mid, I have to say he is, and Ahung playing as the Gyrocopter on the Dire side. However, over here on McRoberts High, we have Shazam as the OD, Rumpelslumpkin as Visage, Lari is going to be playing as Luna. We have Slumo of the Earth, probably just Lumo of the Earth, Lumo of the Earth playing as the Darkseer, and Sluminational, Slumsational, that's right, Slumsational is going to be playing as the Nyx Assassin. And now it looks like Cake.mkv just scouting out a little bit, is actually in a bit of a precarious position, honestly, but with the amount of pretty much no stuns or disables early on by this Radiant team, by McRoberts High, he's got to feel very, very safe. Not to mention he has Ice Path in his arsenal, of course, if he ever needs to, so he should be doing fine. And now it does look like Sir Fukalat is going to be going mid, has that early Shadow Strike, and Jakiro is here. He hasn't been scouted out yet, not a lot of scouting going on, and they might be looking for that early first blood. Ahung picks up an invisibility rune, and against a Gyrocopter, that is absolutely terrifying to go up against. You actually have Death Prophet down here, probably going to be supporting Gyrocopter. Interesting to see these lineups, I have to say, and they have to be wondering exactly where Jakiro is, and he's just going to pop out on this bot lane. He's going to try and land a nice Ice Path on Shazam, get a lot of damage on him early, but there's that very early Astral on Sir Fukalat, and now Jakiro has moved, he's starting to go, but he's actually just scouting the whole way. He's actually not going for a gank at all. Very odd. And up here, we have Lousy Automaton against Slumo of the Earth. Lumo of the Earth. And this is going to be a terrible lane for this Magnus. He doesn't have Bottle Crow, so he can't constantly throw out those shockwaves to kill these Ion Shelled creeps, which means Darkseer is going to get all the free harass in the world. Not to mention, he's going to get an absolutely huge amount of last hits and gold to his name. Down here, however, you do have Rumpelslumpkin now being accompanied. Jakiro now is around here. They do see him out here. He needs to land a nice Ice Path. Does land it, but there is no follow-up at the moment. Ahung is not fast enough. He's getting some nice free harass how, and it is a tri-lane versus tri-lane. And as far as tri-lanes go, both of these are very scary. Not so much, but you really do need at least one more disable on this dire tri-lane to really set up Gyrocopter's Rocket Barrage. Nonetheless, you do have a lot of burst coming out of this team. You have your disable, of course, through Ice Path, but this Radiant, this McRoberts High trialing is very scary in and of itself. You'd like one more stun, a guaranteed stun on this Luna, at least a little bit more than Lucent Beam, but nonetheless, stun on Nyx Assassin. That Soul Assumption does so much damage from Visage early on. It is absolutely terrifying to go up against. And now, Lumo of the Earth, he just keeps throwing out Ion Shells. He's already at 11 last hits compared to Lousy Automaton's 3, so he's having a great time. And now Surfook a lot. Going against Shazam. Oddly enough, going fairly even. Both of them have missed a plethora of last hits at the moment. Shazam is still, as you can see, he's very low on HP already. He doesn't have that much, and Surfukalot actually holding his own, harassing very nicely, throwing out that dagger. Has he actually skilled that up more? He has indeed, realizing that it is very efficient mana-wise for its damage, much more so than Scream of Pain, especially early on. But against someone like an OD where you are going to have precious little mana anyways, you really do want to throw out as much harass as you possibly can, keep him as low as humanly possible, and maybe try and set up some nice ganks on him, because really, if you look at the -6 intelligence on Surfukalot, that's in addition to these Iron Branches. He can just not last hit. He only has 48 base damage with that, so he is having a terrible time. And now Lousy Automaton has almost burned through all of his regen. Darkseer now has a Soul Ring. There is no case for Lousy Automaton where he will be doing good up here. Might want to even switch out with Leoheart at the moment, all things considering, or maybe even Surfukalot. Surfukalot is doing fairly well in the mid, however. Leoheart, though, getting engaged on. He wants to Soul Assumption him. He is getting it out. It is going to be enough, and he does fall. There's the first blood. Cake.mkv thrown out. An Ice Path, it was not enough. Ahung just could not get in range as well. Oddly enough, has skilled up Homing Missile. Usually you see him get Flat Cannon. You can just start throwing out a lot of harass, and against these low health heroes like Lari, like Slumsational, and like Rumple Slumpkin. Oh, all the slumps, all the slurs. Like them, that Flat Cannon harass actually really does eat into their HP early on, and making it very scary for them to actually be aggressive in this game. Nonetheless, that is not too much what they're doing. And now, as we can see mid and in the last hits and denies, we have Shazam just holding this very nicely, winning out very nicely, not denying as much as he should be. However, he does have 11 denies, much more than Surfukalot, but nonetheless is not denying too much. He has all of the intelligence that he possibly can, and he should be playing far more aggressive here. He needs to realize that Surfukalot now, beyond already disconnecting, oh, so sad, that is not what you want to see happen. Nonetheless, he should be reconnecting, just a little bit of technical difficulties, but if we talk about this up here, we have Darkseer completely and utterly dominating this lane. Lousy Automaton is behind in experience. He has so few last hits. He's sitting at 6. He's barely doing anything here, and Slum of the Earth, or Lumo, or Lum of the Earth, is probably Slum of the Earth, or Slum of the Earth, is just getting all the money he could possibly want here. Leoheart, as well as Cake.mkv and Ahung are doing fine on the bottom, but not as great, not as much as you'd actually like when you compare these two heroes that are going an equivalent. But actually, Lari is not doing particularly well in the last hits at all. And despite the fact that they have given up first blood, Ahung is still very much in position to just command this lane, get a little point in Flat Cannon. They are behind in the experience, opting actually not to put any point into Flat Cannon yet, instead saving one of his skill points. Not sure exactly what he's doing with that. Nonetheless, looks like Surfukalot having a bit of technical difficulties. He does have a Haste Rune available, should be using this to gank somebody. You can't really gank Darkseer with it, of course, because of Surge. It's just not gonna happen. You can slow him down, but of course Shadow Strike will not slow somebody who is surged. And I think we've all seen this when you sheep somebody with the Gwynsoon, and you just throw down, and he surged, and he still runs away as a little pig as fast as humanly possible. And now it looks like everybody is indeed ready. The unpausing will start. And it looks now like Leoheart doing his very best to harass down. They want to hit this courier. Can't quite get it in time, though. Lari, though, very, very underfarmed for how well this lane is doing. They have picked up a kill, however. And Surfukalot now is trying to do a little bit, but Shazam gets a nice Astral. and walks up this ramp just far enough that Sir Fukalot cannot get any sort of spell off in the meantime. And Shazam has all the mana. He can just throw out Astrals whenever he wants, and he should be getting pretty much every single last hit here completely uncontested. Nonetheless, is not being aggressive enough. Now he is going to the high ground. He realized that maybe he can actually do something here. He does have Sanity's Eclipse now, and he should be really just man-fighting this against Sir Fukalot. He has so much more base damage. He's up to 92. He's hitting for almost 100 here. And now Rumpelstiltskin is going to be getting out of this one. There's no way he's fallen there. There isn't even a homing missile on him, so he's going to just return back to the lane. He's going to be doing fine right there. But Shazam, despite having a lead, despite leading in farm in this mid lane, is actually not playing this particularly well, honestly. Now it looks like Visage did pick up a nice kill on Leohart, but in return the Nyx Assassin will fall, and Laurie now falling as well. There is a Soul Assumption down, and that is a one support and a carry for one support and a carry. So everything is fair, but not going to be for long, because it looks like Sir Fukalot is here. Cake.mkv is here as well. They just haven't the damage yet, however. Is the Shadow Strike going to kill him? It does indeed, and it now looks like Cake.mkv overstaying his welcome underneath this tower. Sir Fukalot does indeed throw out a Shadow Strike, but that Jakiro will fall here, and now there is quite a lot of time left on that blink. Slum of the Earth is running in. He might have actually been able to dive that, but Slum-sational not there quite in time. And this is going to open up a little bit more room for Lousy Automaton to actually get the last hits he needs to be relevant in this game. So he's got to be loving that. This tri-lane of his has made a little bit of room for him. Shazam is throwing some nice damage out on this tower, but it's not going to be enough. And now 2 tower hits down. And the fact that Sir Fukalot does not have any astrals taken from him yet. Now he does. 8 intelligence difference. He's at 63, 87 base damage on Shazam. So he's going to want to bottle this up, but of course, Shadow Strike being very annoying for that, has to wait out the entirety of it. Bottles up now, has an illusion rune, not going to guarantee him any kills like a double damage, or perhaps a haste rune would have. Nonetheless, very nice for him, but now it does indeed look like Rumpelstiltskin has rotated mid, maybe. No, maybe just on the way. Just hanging around, see if they can't maybe get a little bit of damage on Sir Fukalot. Nonetheless, you have Laurie being completely zoned out here. He's still, of course, within experience range within this tower, and now a homing missile coming out on him as well. He's got to want to pop this flat cannon, and the homing missile will not connect. Oh, it shouldn't. Boom, does not indeed connect. Of course, it only takes 4 hits to kill those every single time. So now, as far as this try is concerned, neither of them doing particularly well. Gyrocopter is a little bit underfarmed. They should have a Basilius ring. They do indeed. Jakiro has it on lock there. And now it looks like Shazam actually getting harassed down very nicely. Sir Fukalot did throw everything he had out there. Doesn't have enough mana though for his ult. He's literally got pretty much 0 mana now. -7 right now, and now it looks like there is indeed an engagement down bot here. Slum-sational getting completely cut out by that rocket barrage. You have Leohart, though, is falling, and Zoom now running in. You have Slum of the Earth. He's getting that Ion Shell out very nicely. Cake.mkv doing his very best, but it's not going to be enough. Can he get out with this creep wave? Can't do it. One last shot from the Visage. And now, after that team fight, we see the gold and experience lead ramping up even more for McRoberts High. But while that's happening and the rest of their team is dying as well, this Queen of Pain falls into the mid and just does not like what she sees. Sanity's Eclipse right there. OD ult was indeed used there. And now this Magnus has to start rotating mid. He has to start rotating into these lanes and setting up some nice ganks. But of course, he's woefully behind on his Blink Dagger. 9 minutes in, doesn't even have his Arcanes yet. And you really do want a Blink Dagger on Magnus in this game. Nonetheless, this game is obviously not over. Lots of early pressure going on from McRoberts High, but nonetheless, you have these dire heroes. You have Game of Throws, that's the name of their team. You have Game of Throws here with some of the most amazing team fight ults in the entire game, but of course you do have Darkseer Wall of Replica in the deck of cards for McRoberts High, meaning that it's pretty much anybody's game at this moment. There is that lead, of course, up to about 4,000 gold lead, 3,000 experience lead for McRoberts High, but this early on, that is actually quite a bit this early on. But, I mean, everything could change in the blink of an eye, and Magnus, while he's up here, he's being uncontested now. He's let free farm. He's got some free farm now going because this Darkseer is nowhere to be seen, and there he is now. He's going to be throwing out Ion Shells. Going to get a little bit harder for Lousy Automaton, but he has picked up his Arcane Boots. He's going to be able to throw out some nice shockwaves now to kill those creeps, those Ion Shell creeps, much faster now. So that's going to increase his Blink Dagger just that much quicker. Not only that, he should be able to actually pick up some nice, maybe not kills, but maybe some creep camps here. And now we do indeed have Sir Fugalot running, and she has a haste rune available, but Magnus is so woefully far behind this tower. Slumber doesn't know what to do. He's actually caught himself within the trees. Sir Fugalot cannot live here, though. He is getting chased by that tower shot, but he does bottle up, so he's going to be fine. And weirdly enough, Slumber of the Earth actually lives there. Sir Fugalot just could not pile in the damage fast enough. Didn't have ult available, it looks like, as well. Maybe if she had, it might have gone a little differently, but now Slumsational has hit level 6, was casting his Vendetta, see if he couldn't pick somebody off, but nobody was to be found. And while that's all happening, though, you need to realize that while you're dedicating these heroes up here, while you're dedicating your mid Sir Fugalot to the top lane, this Laurie down here, she has more and more space to actually farm, but then again, you have lost your Nyx Assassin, you don't have the option to actually zone out this tri-lane. So now Ahun getting much more farm. I shouldn't say much more, only 9 more last hits nonetheless than Laurie. So overall, things still very, very even in this game, despite the fact that kills are looking very much in favor of McRoberts High. Now we have Slumsational, his ult is up, he's going to be popping it, and now they are looking to get a kill here. Leohart overstaying that welcome every single time. They need to realize that this is not where they want to be. Slumsational, though, is he going to be able to get, he does go for the Vendetta, he wants the stun, however, there is not enough. Rumple Slumskin's going to get the Soul Assumption out, and now an Eclipse going down, really hurting everybody. Cake.mkv barely getting out with his life, but gets mana down and does indeed fall, but that's an easy trade. Nyx Assassin for Jakiro, and it looks like more likely than not, a bottom tower.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack. Dire's structures are fortified.
Now we have Magnus porting bot, realizing that he can actually be very useful here, throwing out that counter push shockwave of his. Does not yet have any points in empower, that's a-okay. Would just make this clearing this wave a little bit easier, but of course you do want that skewer as high as you possibly can. And RP is up, and now the rest of his team has to know this. They need to be running in here and trying to do as much work as they possibly can. Jakiro, of course, already used his ult, but the cooldown on that on Macropar is just so low. Leohart not quite level 6 yet, and now it just looks like Magnus is running all the way home. Not a very good use of time. Jakiro actually overstaying his welcome a little bit as well. Way too deep in this lane. The familiars alone could cause him some really big trouble, but now Sir Fugalot is running in. They do see him there, however, because of this ward, and now it looks like Slum of the Earth trying his very best to put as much damage on this tower as humanly possible. Lousy Automaton might have been able to pick up a kill there if he had reverse polarity. Nonetheless, that's not what's happening. Laurie now is being caught out. There is no ult available, though, on Queen of Pain. He has to use these wand charges to get up that ult. Actually bottles up. Nonetheless, nobody fallen yet. Laurie was able to get there. You have Sir Fugalot running in, does get the kill off on Luna now. Does get stunned now, however. Is there going to be enough to kill him? That Soul Assumption is definitely enough. Throwing that out. In Ice Pack being thrown out now as well, not hitting anybody, sadly, ever so sad. And it looks like Shazam is rotating bot now. He has a full Sanity's Eclipse and all of the intelligence in the world to absolutely wreck this entire team. Sanity's Eclipse, where is it? Slumsational, though, is getting caught out by that Rocket Barrage. There it is, though. Ahun go completely out of his element. Cake.mkv needs to be retreating all the way back now. He's going to want to throw out a Macropar. Oh, they do get him in the vacuum, however. And now Slum of the Earth wants to dive this. He does avoid the ice path very nicely. Familiars, of course, do not die. And this is going to be a dead Jakiro here. Shazam throwing out a couple of Arcane Orbs. Sir Fugalot runs out. Is he going to get a nice kill on Slumple Skillskin? Can't remember his name. It looks like Sir Fugalot does find some familiars. He wants to get those, of course. The bounty on those so high, but up that cliff, there's no chance of that happening. And then this Game of Throws team has successfully defended this bottom tower for a second time. And now it looks like they do want to go on this, of course. There's Leohart completely out of his element again, getting completely caught out. Slump-sational with that Vendetta being very, very useful, but mostly just against Death Prophet, of course. Still not very, very high at all. If we look at her level, she's only level 5, the lowest and pitiless one of the bunch. And that missile is definitely gonna hit. Not that anything comes of it, and it does just like Sir Fugala does not have the mana normally to actually throw out Sonic Wave. It's being a huge issue. They can defend this tower very nicely, but while they're dedicating 4 heroes down here, with Magnus indeed as well. I mean, you have Luna up top farming as best she can. She's sitting at... She's actually still below the gyrocopter despite everything and all the space that she has made for her. So nonetheless, now it looks like Lousy Automaton being a little bit of a bait. He does have his reverse polarity available, catches it off, but only gets 1. It's not going to be enough. A nice call down coming down wasn't enough as well. Some big spells coming out though, and they need to go on this. Of course, Slump-sational is going to fall here. I don't see him getting out. He actually Vendettas with Ion Shell, and that is absolutely terrific. Sir Fugala though trying to do as much damage to Shazam as possible. Soul something will land, however, and it's not going to be enough for McRoberts High to take down everybody. Jakiro still getting away. Leohart is up top, however, trying to get at least a little bit of farm now. And experience has hit 6, more likely than not, exactly what she wanted. And now is caught out again. A terrible game for Leohart so far. Getting caught out every possible time. And now this group of 5 with a mech, no less. This is going to be maybe even 2 towers, and that will only skyrocket them further in these gold and experience graphs.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
Of course, they have to know that reverse polarity is down. Macropyre is just slightly down. Call down, of course, is back up with that cooldown being so small. And Sonic Wave is always laying in wait. So now it looks like this Radiant team, McRoberts High, deciding, you know what? We don't need to fight. We've taken a tower. We've had terrific team fights. We're sitting at 20 kills compared to year 7. We can just go all the way home, continue to farm up, get our next big items, and go from there. Not to mention, let Larry get an item for himself because he is ridiculously low. It looks like he is indeed going for a Drums of Endurance, going to make him all that much faster, all that much harder to catch. But they do have ways, of course, of dealing with him. Lousy Automaton really does need to just be farming all day long until he gets that Blink Dagger, because without some huge RPs in this game, it's looking a little bit one-sided at this moment. Now 4 heroes were mid. Gyrocopter realizing this is not a good use of time. Of course, he is fairly underfarmed as well. If we look at the last hits, he's actually behind Magnus. And Magnus has been having a terrible game, which is very odd to me. It's just Larry and Ahung, despite being these very carry-ish heroes, not last hitting too effectively at the moment. Now, of course, every ult is available. Sanity's Eclipse up as well. Not to mention Wall of Replica. You have Eclipse, still only level 1, not the strongest. And now Ahung needs to get out of here very quickly. He knows that they're running for him. Has a haste rune on Larry. That Eclipse is going to be popped. And Ahung is so low already. Can he hit him? The creeps come just in time to save him, however. And now, call down being thrown down as a disciplinary measure. It's not going to be enough, though. Larry does get stunned, but the tower targeting everyone else, so while that almost did save him, was not able to get out of Slum of the Earth's range for that vacuum. An Exorcism could have been popped here, maybe gone for this tower. Nonetheless, 4 still grouped up in the mid, and this is a common misplay I've been seeing lately, is you group up 4 and you just don't make a lot happen. Of course, they are getting this tower, however, it looks like Slump-sational, though, is indeed getting skewered back. He wants to stun as best he can. Leohart, though, so close to falling, does indeed die there in the last seconds, and saving Vendetta to make sure he gets out of there A-okay. Slum of the Earth now throwing out ion shells and vacuums whenever he can. Some beautiful stuns coming out from these familiars. Some beautiful micro now by this Visage. Sir Fukalot throwing out that ult, catching 2. It's not going to be enough, though, and he has almost no mana to blink. He needs to blink, but the cooldown is still so high, and now that is going to be an almost entire team wipe and a free tower. This mid one did indeed fall for them, but nonetheless, and this could even be a fourth tower, in fact, a 4th tower for McRoberts High. If we look after all this, up to 11,000 roughly gold advantage, 15,000 experience, and that's only gonna continue to climb. Looks like Leohart constantly being caught out, just cannot make anything work for him here, getting completely caught out all the time, forced staff in by Outworld Devour, guaranteeing those hits, not to mention the added movement speed of Surge by Slum of the Earth, or even, in fact, Drums of Endurance by Lari. And now it looks like with those 2 towers down that this team might be going for a Roche here. Of course, they will want some vision up on this high ground, possibly even there too, maybe even there. But no, in fact, they say, you know what, we can actually take this bottom tier 2. You can't do anything about it at the moment. Our team is just better prepared for this, not to mention having a mech up on Slum of the Earth that is off of cooldown, and he's actually bought a Blink Dagger of all things, just trying to get into position as much as humanly possible. And now, without Magnus there, without that Blink Dagger, I just don't know if Game of Throws can keep this game going, can keep this bottom tower at the very least. I'm not sure about that. Now, there's that Blink Dagger, a nice vacuum in. No Eclipse, though, is on Lart. There it is. Hits a Hung a whole lot. So Fukalot needs to start leveling up this Blink, however, because that's why he's fallen so many times. Does not actually need Shadow Strike at level 4. Usually only want to keep it for its slow early on. You can still basically move and attack anybody with that first level of slow, but nonetheless, that is what's really killing it here, is her blink cooldown is 12 seconds. Usually this late in the game, you do not see that. Leohart getting caught out again by everything. Soul Assumption, and indeed, pop that Spike Carapace of Slumsational. Oh no, and a completely whiffed RP, and this is gonna be, if anything, this bottom tower as well. Cake.com can't get out of there in time. Ahung falls as well, and McRoberts High might be in for a fairly early victory here. Now, Exorcism has been used, but of course, Leohart falls so quickly. Sir Fukalot does throw out an ult. Slumsational Carapace is up, as well as a mech saving his buddy, and surges him as well. This is the MVP of this game, this Darks. You're doing amazingly. Sir Fukalot and Leohart now need to be very careful. Of course, Slum of the Earth has Blink available. Slumsational very strong as well, has Vendetta, actually catches him out by complete and utter chance. Absolutely beautiful Scream, however. That is not a fair trade. Your mid hero, your Queen of Pain, for a lowly support Nyx. That is not how you want to see it go. But Slum of the Earth keeping this lane pushed in. No racks actually taken yet. But if we look at these gold graphs and this experience graph, 20,000 in favor of McRoberts High in both regards. If we look at the net worth, Luna, despite being very low for a carry at this time, I mean, Gyrocopter woefully behind even the supports of McRoberts High, so this is a very, very bad position to be in for Game of Throws. Now it looks like OD has finished up his sheepstick, and that might just be the last nail in the coffin for this game. Not much you can actually do about it. Does anybody have a BKB up? Magnus is still very close to that dagger. He's so close. Gyrocopter trying to get that BKB up as fast as possible. Has not been able to find any farm this whole game, however. And Lousy Automaton, looks like everybody on this Dire team on Game of Thrones just too scared to move out, and understandably, if we look at their vision, there it is, if we look at their vision, they actually don't see anything. They see where the creeps are. Lousy Automaton wanted to farm that blink so badly, couldn't even find one of his creep camps here, and like I was saying, if we look at their vision, they have this tower, they have their base, and they have where the creeps are, and beyond that, they have absolutely no vision whatsoever. They must be absolutely terrified to move out. And understandably, pretty much any single one of these heroes on McRoberts High can solo kill almost any one of them. Nyx Assassin now has actually picked up a Desolator of all things. I don't think I've ever actually seen a Desolator on Nyx Assassin, being run almost as a bounty hero, or as a bounty hunter in this game at the moment. Is ganking a whole lot. He's doing fine, but is actually a support into bounty transition, it looks like. So very odd. Slumpkin has picked up an Ags for himself, however, and Luna is well on her way to picking up that BK. She might even have a recipe coming. She does indeed. And now it does indeed look like Cake.mkv getting caught out a little bit. Lousy Tomaton only landing one with that RP, but it might be enough here. Slum of the Earth does throw out a wall, but everybody absolutely melting to Shazam Slum Stational, as well as Slumpkin. And now Ahung is what it is. Ahung getting caught out as well. That is going to be, at the very least, a tier 2, might even be a tier 3 tower.
Is under attack.
And that falls ever so quickly against all these familiars. Not to mention the fact that Desolator actually does apply its corruption attack modifier, I guess you would call it, your corruption attack modifier, to buildings, meaning that their armor does not mean as much as it normally would, and actually opting not to go for this tier 3, porting down bot, protecting all of their towers as best they can, just guaranteeing that Game of Throws gets no amount of farm, no amount of gold to their name. And there's the GG by Cake.mkv, realizing that this is maybe a little too one-sided, maybe a little bit hopeless. Magnus never being able to actually farm that Blink Dagger, and it looks like McRoberts High comes out to a fairly early victory and a very nice game nonetheless. So this has been Briefcase, bringing you one more game of Ancient Trials, and don't go anywhere. There should be one more coming at, I think it's scheduled for 9:30. Could always start early though, folks. So thanks everybody for watching. This has been Briefcase, and I'll see you in the next game.